It's time for another daily drop here on TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI publisher Andrew Jones, and reminding you that this show is sponsored by our friends over at BetterHelp. And make sure you stay tuned. We will have a short message a little bit later in this podcast about BetterHelp, something you definitely need to pay attention to. Part 3 of a 3-part series, taking a look at North Carolina's schedule. If you have not heard parts 1 or 2, it's probably wise to go back and hear them in order, watch them in order, and then come back to this one, because it lays out sort of what I'm doing here with the 3-part daily drop series. I love to look at football schedules in increments, even basketball schedules, but certainly football schedules in increments. I like to frame them. And this is an easy schedule to do that with, because the Tar Heels open up with 4 games before an open date, and they're 4 really important games. The games that can really, really build a perception about how the nation feels about them, especially if they start out 4-0. Got South Carolina and Charlotte, got App State at home, Minnesota at home, and at Pittsburgh. So 3 Power 5 in the first 4 start the season. 2 are non-conference. Not many teams, Power 5 teams, play 2 Power 5 programs outside the league, especially quality ones. South Carolina's a pretty good club. Minnesota's a pretty good club, won 9 games a year ago. So those are games that could really bolster the credibility of the Tar Heels and of Drake May's candidacy for the Heisman Trophy. Then you have the next 6 games, which was the second installment of this series. And it's a stretch where Carolina plays 5 out of 6 at home. Syracuse, Miami, Virginia at home, at Georgia Tech, Campbell at home, Duke at home. They should go 6-0 in that stretch. Regardless of what happens in the first 4, they should go 6-0 in that stretch. That sets up the last 2. And I'm doing this in 3 parts, not projecting that the last 2 will be so vitally important and will have national implications. I'm doing it because it's just the way the schedule looks. I don't want to lump in at Clemson and NC State with the collection of games preceding it. So what that does is part 3 means the Tar Heels begin it in Death Valley, have not played at Clemson since 2014. That was, by the way, Deshaun Watson's college starting debut. And he threw 5 touchdown passes. So that's the last time the Tar Heels were in the same building when the Tigers ran down the hill and touched Howard's Rock. They're going to be there again if they get through that first section, say 3-1. And they skate through that 6-game stretch, which I think they should do. If they're 9-1 or even 8-2, if they're 2-2 after the first 4, that's going to be a huge game. Because if they're 8-2, they'll have no more, and they go 2-2 in that first 4-game stretch. They only have 1 ACC loss, so there's going to be huge implications on that game. Who knows what their record's going to be? But I think it's fair to say maybe 8-2, 9-1. Given what the schedule is. So that would be an enormous game. It would be an opportunity for Carolina to play another game where ESPN Game Day's there that morning, another game that's on ABC primetime, because that would certainly be a contender for that. And it would be an opportunity for the team, the program, to do something, I don't want to say historic, but do something highly significant that it hasn't really done in a long time. And on top of that, there's the Drake May equation. If Carolina's 9-1 or 8-2, and they go into Death Valley and they win that game, and Drake has a huge game, it's going to be right there in the thick of things for the Heisman Trophy competition. He'll be in New York at the very least. That will get him there. If they come out of that thing 9-2, and he goes for 350 and 4 touchdowns in Death Valley, it's going to be in New York. So it's not just the team. It's not just the program. It's also Drake. And all of that really is. And it's also Mac, quite frankly, the Mac factor. The storylines that North Carolina can accumulate this year, if it has a lot of success, are fascinating. The team itself with what it can accomplish. Drake with what he can accomplish, doing something historic. No Tar Heels ever won the Heisman. Choo-Choo Justice finished runner-up, finished second twice. Then they've had a few other guys get votes. Most recently, last year, Drake finished 10th. They've only had 5 guys finish in the top 10 or 5 times, 4 players 5 times in the top 10, I believe it is. Julius Peppers, I think, was 10th. Like Mike Boyd was up there, McCauley was up there, so maybe it's 6 players or 5 players 6 times. So that's significant. But also the Mac factor. If they win, and they win a lot, he's going to get a ton of attention because it would be an amazing story. Because so many people said he can't do it. What the heck is North Carolina doing bringing him back? This isn't going to work. You can't go home again. Didn't work for Joe Gibbs. It's not going to work for Mac Brown. Yet if it does work, it's going to be an incredible story, and it's going to get a ton of publicity. And he's going to be doing radio and TV shows all over the place, and nobody does that stuff better than Mac. So that's going to be a huge week. And if the Tar Heels take care of business, or even if they don't, the following week's also going to be huge. But before I go in to the Hornets' nest, that is Carter Finley Stadium, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor at BetterHelp.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sometimes in life, we're faced with tough choices, and the path forward isn't always clear. So whether it's dealing with, decisions around your career, maybe your relationship, or anything else, whatever it may be, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate life, so you can move forward with confidence and excitement and trusting yourself to make these decisions that align with your values. Is like anything. The more you practice it, the better and easier it gets. I know for me, sometimes as somebody who uses therapy, that sometimes talking things through with someone is just incredibly helpful. And we can all get in our own heads a little bit too much sometimes. And getting out of that by getting feedback from a licensed and trained professional can bring a ton of clarity to your life. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, guys, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule, which is just so huge in my opinion, because convenience is just so big in today's world. And with BetterHelp, you can do everything online. So let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/THI to get 10% off your first month. Again, that's betterhelp.com/THI to get 10% off your first month. Links in the description below. Back to the show.
This team has they have a box to check. And that box is NC State. The way they lost 2 years ago in Raleigh and the way they lost last year in Chapel Hill, no matter what happens in Death Valley, when they go to Raleigh, they should have their full attention. They should be uber focused on that game, and whatever happens in Death Valley should be out of their system by the time that they have practice Sunday, the day after that game. I know they say that that's the case all the time, but I don't think it is always the case. That better be the case with this team. So what the last 2 games do, regardless of performance, or regardless of whatever their record is going into it, I think it'll at least be pretty good. We get an opportunity to see this team play 2 incredibly huge games at the end of the regular season. The ramifications are enormous. And it could imply this team is nationally relevant or it's not. Is Drake nationally relevant and a Heisman contender or not? Is Mac truly back and he's got Carolina where they were when he last coached in Chapel Hill, when he left in 96, 97, 2 top 10 teams? He left following the 97 season. Lots of fascinating storylines, lots of potentially great storylines. And oh, by the way, if they do well enough, a prong to this last part of the 3-part series would be an ACC championship game, but we're not going to go there because there's too much between now and then, and that game is technically not on the schedule yet. They have to earn that game to be on the schedule. So a fascinating trio here. It's going to learn a lot. It's going to be really interesting to see how this goes. In college football, rarely it goes the way you think in advance. So these will probably be terrible podcasts to listen to in a few months, but that's what makes it so fun. I hate when things are predictable and obvious. I like when there's a lot of mystery in a season and in a team, and I think that's going to be the case with this North Carolina club. I think the range is 500 to 10, 11 wins. We'll see. Anyway, appreciate you guys checking out all 3 parts of this Daily Drop series, looking ahead to North Carolina's schedule. Make sure you click like on this video. Make sure you share it. Also subscribe so you get notifications every time we upload a video, and we do it often. And make sure you go over to TarHeelIllustrated.com, just $8.33 a month. You can be an insider too and hang out in an awesome community of like-minded Carolina fans. I'm AJ. See you next time.